have seen them as successful people, people who have achieved exceptional results and have excelled in their field of work. But often, what we don't realize is that even the best have failed before they won. Did you know that Henry Ford failed and went broke 5 times before he successfully created the first Ford car? Walt Disney was told by a newspaper editor that he lacked imagination and had no good ideas before he went on to win 26 Oscars and 7 Emmy Awards. Michael Jordan was rejected from his high school basketball team. Steven Spielberg was not taken into 3 film schools. And Bill Gates failed in his first business before creating a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, Microsoft. These iconic figures and many others like them have seen failure. But what has made them succeed is the fact that they haven't been cowed down by it. Instead, failure seems to have made their resolve for success even greater. In fact, corporate trainer Taranjeet believes that failure can be the best teacher.
We like to look at the success. We don't like to look at what created success in that overnight success of 20 years or 30 years. They did a research on folks who made it to the billionaire club in the US, and they found that on an average, these billionaires went near bankrupt almost 2.5 times.
Are you serious?
Because somewhere their relationship, and go back to what we spoke about in our first episode about our upbringing and the role of our upbringing in how we look at failure. Is it a taboo or is it something that's encouraged? How is failure looked at in our context? Failing is bad, winning is great, whether it's in cricket, whether it's in getting into that school where there's competition and carries on to the workplace. In Germany, you'll not get a loan if you have a failed business. In the Silicon Valley, if you failed, it's almost a badge of honor that you can wear around. So yes, really understanding what these guys do or these organizations do with failure is critical. They embrace it beautifully.
You know, failure is a very strong word to use.
Yes.
Mistake is a more common
Yes.
word to use, because mistake is where most of us flounder because the moment you make a mistake, then you say that maybe we shouldn't try again, you know. And I read a very interesting quote which said that a mistake proves that at least you tried.
Yes.
Which is an interesting facet. But you've worked a lot with people who are good, and you make them good leaders. Now, can you help people deal with failure? What are the learnings from failure? How have you seen successful, exceptional people pick up the pieces after a big setback?
Let me deal with the first bit first, which is about how do successful people view failure. You very rightly said, failure is, mistake is acceptable, failure is too strong a word, and it has to do with the way we look at failure. Failure is bad, success is good, whereas if you look at it, they are both part of the same continuum. It's only with reference to something that another thing can be called a success or a failure. When people recognize that this is also a polarity that needs to be managed, success and failure will come, your attitude towards failure changes from something called I need to avoid this to okay, this is part of a journey towards moving to success. Right? George Mallory said beautifully, it is said after 3 failed attempts at Everest, he looked up and Everest has said, you've defeated me again, but I'll be back, because even as Everest you can't grow, but as a human being I can. And that realization is the foundation, the fact that we can constantly learn from failures. Without failure, you wouldn't have a reference to call anything a success. What is success? It's only in reference to something that's not a success.
Everyone fears failure, and this fear is what stops us from taking risks, from letting us take the leap towards success. But behavioral scientists have found through years of research that breakthroughs in performance depend on one's ability to deal with failure. And it is shown that exceptional people embrace their mistakes and are hence not afraid to take risks.
It's one of the traits that exceptional people do. They'll take their risks, and the moment you take a risk is a trade-off between a hope of success and a fear of failure. You will fail, and they take a considered risk. And when they fail, they just take it as another step towards Okay, this is what I need to do. Now, let's just differentiate failures. There's a kind of failure which is avoidable. I mean, if you know there's a problem in the production line and you don't fix it and it's leading to a defective product, now that's a failure which why would you want to tolerate? If the same thing happened on an operation theatre, why would you want to tolerate? But there are failures which are made that occur when you take a risk. When you take a bold risk, failures will occur, and the sooner you learn to embrace, to take it in your stride, the sooner it starts registering as a learning opportunity and not as a mistaken opportunity.
You know, there is also a tendency of people to play safe. Do you come across that often, where people who are very good have realized that this is their threshold of being good? Maybe more risk from here is not a good idea because there is a chance of failure. Do people also fall into their comfort of not pushing themselves enough because they are happy with the success that they have got?
I could be happy with the success that I've got, and each success puts me into a kind of a comfort zone, and you get very comfortable. If you remember from our earlier episode, you get comfortable just doing this. It's a comfort zone. I don't even want to do this. But the thing with the comfort zone is that no breakthroughs in performance ever happen inside the comfort zone. They'll only happen when you step out. When you step out, you are inviting the chance to fail, and be okay with it. Look at the Tatas here. The Tatas in India have a reward for failure. You tried something really innovative and you failed, it's recognized. So rather than castigate people who fail, can you just learn to recognize you tried it well, can we just see that we don't do the same thing again? So organizations slowly are learning to encourage people to take calculated risks and recognize the fact that in calculated risks, some of the baskets that you try and shoot will not make it.
So from good to great, from success to winning, is getting out of your comfort zone very important?
Let me just quote from Good to Great now that you've mentioned it. The first line in Good to Great states very simply, good is the biggest enemy of great. And like you said, if I'm good, I get comfortable with being good, and I'll need to take risks and possibly encounter failures to be great. So yes, you have to step out of that. One of the world's most successful basketball players, Michael Jordan, you know, he was to shoot an ad. And in that ad, the sponsor wanted to show him missing a couple of shots and then showing him getting a shot, and there was a storyline around it. And the story goes that he shot the basket about 123 times. He said, hang on, we want you to miss. He said, I'm trying. But somewhere success became such a pattern. So they went in to understand what he did. And Michael Jordan said this. He said, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. 26 times I've been entrusted when taking the winning shot, and I failed. And I failed over and over and over again, and that's why I succeed. So failure is just one end, it's success in a different light. It's trying to teach you something. Either you get intimidated by it and you get into your shell, or you say, hang on, what is it trying to teach me, and can I still take my risk?
And that's what exceptional people do.
They'll take calculated risks and they'll be okay with the cost.
And that calculated risk is calculated when you know about yourself, you know exactly what your environment is, and you have a clear focus, right?
Exactly. David McClelland said it. People with a high need for achievement, people who achieve for the sake of achieving, failure and success for those people are emotional drivers. They'll spur them. Whereas for a lot of people it could be a limitation. For guys who have that need to achieve, failure is a great emotional spur.
Failure, in a sense, is the flip side of success, and the old adage, no risk, no reward, gets a whole new meaning when you talk about what makes a person exceptional. But how do you stick to your path even when you face obstacles? More on that when we return.